The millionaire cries for help from a black man for his lost little brother. The storm lashed against the cobblestone streets, rain spilling like a wild torrent, sweeping shadows across the alleys. Thunder rumbled, a fierce growl, and lightning slashed through the night sky like a vengeful sword. Under the awning of a crumbling storefront, two figures huddled close. They were small, soaked, and visibly frightened. An 8-year-old girl named Sarah clutched her younger brother Ethan, whose thin body trembled in the grip of fever. A graphic of desperation played across her face as her eyes darted about, searching for help in a world that seemed indifferent. A sleek black car pulled up, its tires screeching on the wet pavement. Michael Anderson stepped out, his tailored suit now rendered useless by the rain. The millionaire, known for his ruthless business deals and unyielding empire, stood frozen in place as the storm mirrored the turmoil whipping through his heart. He noted, "We need help." Michael's mind overwhelmed with a chaotic swirl of thoughts. His expensive watch ticked loudly in the silence, but all he could hear was the sound of rain cascading around them. He forged ahead, quickly scooping Ethan into his arms, feeling the heat radiate from the boy's skin. The drive to the hospital felt like an eternity, every second heavy with urgency. Glancing at Sarah, he felt a pang in his heart. This wasn't just a job or a favor. It was a revelation in a dark storm. As they rushed into the emergency room, the sterile smell of antiseptic hit him like a wall. Nurses moved with practiced precision, and amidst the chaos, a panic grew inside Michael. Hours later, the diagnosis came: severe pneumonia. Ethan was growing weaker, and Michael's mind raced, filled with guilt for not having been there sooner. But then came a twist that shattered his world. An old nurse, after noticing the tension etched on his face, paused momentarily, looking him in the eye. The name wove through the fabric of his life, a past he desperately tried to forget. Jessica had been his secret, a brief but wild romance that had left him with a haunting absence when she mysteriously vanished. Suddenly, everything crashed together. Sarah was his daughter. Reality swamped him. He was a father, a ghost in their lives, and the embers of regret kindled in his chest. The thought felt cold and yet electrifying. Outside, the storm continued, a relentless reminder of the choice he had made: fame over family. As he prepared for Sarah's birthday at the orphanage, with the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, a familiar face appeared in the crowd. Jessica, alive and looking just as he remembered. Michael's heart raced. The storm's chaos mirrored the turmoil within him, thrusting him into a whirlwind of emotion. How could he reconcile this whirlwind of feeling, love, and uncertainty? In his pocket, he could feel the speech he'd crafted for Sarah, the hope glim. "Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without prior notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching this? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact." Michael's heart raced as he spotted Jessica in the crowd. His throat tightened. The speech for Sarah faded, lost in the whirlwind of emotions. He knew he needed to approach her, but every step felt heavier than the last. Lightning flickered above, illuminating her face, and he saw the surprise in her eyes. "Jessica," he whispered, as if saying her. Sarah tugged at his sleeve, confused, her small face flickering with worry. "Mommy?" she asked lightly, her voice a fragile whisper. Michael's stomach flipped. Was this the moment he had waited for? Or was it a betrayal to the life he built without her? Jessica looked torn between advancing and retreating. The crowd around them, a mix of worried parents and anxious children, buzzed with hushed conversations. "What are you doing here?" he finally asked, the words bursting out like a dam breaking. Jessica hesitated. She opened her mouth, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, a siren wailed in the distance, a stark reminder of the chaos that surrounded them. It felt like a crescendo, drawing every eye toward them. Michael felt a weight pressing on him. Sarah, Ethan, a mother he barely knew, and a past that wouldn't let go. And just as he was about to reach out, a sudden loud bang erupted from behind. The emergency room doors flung open, and in rushed a group of paramedics, their faces twisted in alarm. "Code Blue," one of them shouted. "In room 3. The world around Michael shifted. Alarms blared. Nurses moved like shadows in the chaos, urgency painted across their faces. Sarah gripped Michael's hand tighter, and he instinctively shielded her from the sudden commotion. "Come on," Jessica urged. "We have to go." "But where?" The storm outside raged, clouds swirling with anger. Confusion captured the moment, like a net ensnaring all intentions. And then Michael's phone buzzed violently in his pocket. He whipped it out, glancing at the screen. A message. His breath hitched. It was from an unknown number. "Get away from Sarah. She's not who you think she is." Exposure hit him like an icy wave. He glanced at the message again, heart pounding, as Sarah's small hand slipped from his grasp. She moved toward a cluster of nurses, her eyes wide as they flitted between Michael and Jessica. "What does that mean?" he shot back, eyes darting from Jessica to Sarah. Panic ignited. "What do you mean she's not who I think she is?" Jessica shook her head, tears brimming. "I don't know. I swear I don't know." The noise around them dulled. Michael's mind reeled. Sarah wasn't just his daughter. What if her birth, her life, was wrapped in secrets he was too blind to see? Rumors floated in a churning sea of uncertainty. He turned to Jessica, desperation clawing at his throat. "You have to tell me the truth now!" Just then, a nurse bolted past, stopping abruptly. "Dr. Wilson, we need your help in room 3, now!" Her tone was urgent, frayed at the edges. The words hung heavy in the air. Suddenly, a plea echoed through the emergency room from somewhere out of sight. "He's my son!" The collective silence snapped the air. Michael felt a cold chill creep down his spine. The source of the voice was hidden among the chaos, but it struck through the fabric of the night like a lightning bolt. His son? Who was that? And how did this all tie back to Sarah? Questions swirled, urgency crackling in the charged atmosphere. A mother's desperate cry. A broken family hidden within tangled pasts. Everything was about to tip over. As the storm raged, so did the tempest in his heart. The ground beneath him trembled. He was caught in a storm, but would he find shelter or be swept away? Time felt like sand slipping through fingers. There was no turning back now. The air thickened with tension, a pulse of uncertainty echoing between them. Michael's gaze flicked back to Sarah, her small form trembling under the weight of the world, confusion deepening on her innocent face. He wanted to shield her from this storm, yet he was the one swept away, caught in the undertow of panic. "What do you mean she's not who I think she is?" Michael's heart thundered. The words hung in the air like a noose. Jessica's tears fell quietly, streaking her cheeks, each drop a silent plea. "I swear, I don't know." Jessica's voice cracked, raw desperation flooding her words. Just then, the chaotic sounds of the emergency room faded, drowning under the rising tide of his anxiety. "Dr. Wilson, we need your help in room 3 now." The nurse's urgent voice cut through the tension, demanding attention. Outside, the storm fell harder, rain drumming against the windows like the heartbeat of the night. The frantic buzz grew louder, anxiety coiling tighter around Michael's chest. Sarah clutched his side, her eyes wide, mirroring the storm's chaos. And he felt a chill run down his spine. "Wait!" he shouted, looking into Jessica's pleading eyes. "What's happening? You need to tell me! Now!" He stepped closer, desperation clinging to his words. Each heartbeat echoed with questions that threatened to rupture his mind. Just then, it happened. The emergency doors burst open, a man wildly stumbling through, panic etched across his face. He yelled out, "I'm looking for my son! Where is he?" The chaos froze around Michael, shock waves rippling through the crowd. The man's voice held an edge of madness, urgent and frayed. "I have a son," a woman cried, running in right behind him. Her face, pale and ghostly, mirrored the terror flooding the room. "Where's Ethan?" Confusion spiraled like whirlwinds, pulling Michael deeper into the turmoil. Was this Ethan's mother? Did he have a son named Ethan? The realization hit him like a lightning strike. It ignited questions he never prepared for. Who were they? What secrets were buried under layers of this storm? "Ethan?" Michael whispered, his breath hitching. Sarah stepped back, pulling away, the relevance of her existence suddenly spinning out of control. Could it be? The boy he carried, a fevered child he barely recognized, was somehow tied to another family, another story. Suddenly, he wasn't just a lost father, but a link in a twisted chain of fate. Sarah flinched, sensing the shift. "Daddy?" Her voice wavered, eyes darting between her mother and the man who yelled. It was as if the world spun, unraveling their fragile connection, thread by thread. Then came another voice, a figure emerging from behind the chaos, steady and commanding. "Michael." A woman with sharp features, familiar yet distant, stepped forward, eyes blazing with intensity. "You don't understand. They're here for Ethan." What did she mean? Clarity flickered like the storm outside. Michael felt his world teeter on the brink. The truth, dark and treacherous, carved through the flicker of hope that had been ignited just moments before. Was Sarah connected to Ethan? Was the family he abandoned woven into the fabric of this unexpected reality? The air thickened as Michael's mind raced. He was losing control, the weight of secrets pressing hard against his chest. "It can't be," he murmured, stricken. Was this a twisted fate or destiny's cruel trick? The crowd around him faded, leaving only the swirling chaos within. Sarah's trembling hand found his again, but everything in him felt ready to shatter. "Michael!" Jessica's voice was frantic now. "We have to figure this out. Lives are at stake." But how could he? The storm raged on, echoing the turmoil inside. And just like thunder, everything suddenly shifted. "Who are you?" Michael demanded, eyes locked on the approaching woman. Her answer came as the siren's wail filled the room, but it was drowned out by the pounding of his heart. Answers danced just out of reach, truths that would shatter everything he thought he knew. As the storm roared outside, Michael stood on the precipice of discovery, darkness swirling around him. What was real? What was illusion? The air hummed with tension, the weight of choices hanging heavy over them all, leaving the truth poised to strike, waiting for the next flash of lightning to reveal everything. Michael's heart raced, pulsing in his ears. The woman, familiar yet distant, moved closer, urgency flooding her features. "You don't understand. They're here for Ethan." The words hit him like a slap. Confusion twisted in his stomach, tightening his grip on Sarah. She looked up at him, her face a canvas of fear and innocence, eyes mirroring the chaos around them. "Daddy?" she asked, her voice trembling. Time felt like it was slipping away. Each moment stretched painfully, stretching shadows further. The once bustling room now held its breath. Between frantic nurses and echoing alarms, uncertainty closed in like a dark storm cloud. "Who are you?" Michael managed, the questions slicing through the chaos. "What do you mean they're here for Ethan?" Before the woman could respond, The frantic voices of the man and woman he had just witnessed earlier pierced through again. "Ethan, where is my son?" Their urgent cries cut through the tension like a knife, people parting as they edged closer to him. Chaos spread across the room, tension rising like steam. Then it happened, a single scream that shattered the fragile calm. "Get away from him!" A figure burst into the emergency room, pushing everyone aside, eyes wide with panic. "I'm his mother. I'm his mother." It was a wild cry that rattled everyone, including Michael. The noise in the room felt like 1,000 voices screaming in unison. His heart dropped. A mother? A real mother? The air thickened, confusion spiraling, pulling him deeper into this nightmare. "Ethan!" The woman's voice cracked, eyes searching wildly. "Where's my boy?" The desperation clawed at Michael's mind as he felt Sarah's small hand tremble beside him. "Ethan?" he whispered, trying to absorb the impossibility. "What do you mean?" The woman locked eyes with him. "You have no idea, do you?" Michael's breath caught, and for the first time, doubt began to seep in. He stepped backward, can't breathe. The nurse standing nearest them stammered, "We need to calm down, please, just—" But then everything spiraled. A flash of lightning illuminated the room through the windows, casting an eerie glow. At the same time, Michael's phone buzzed violently in his pocket again. Another message. Heart pounding, he yanked it out. Balled fists trembling. "Get away from the girl. You're not her father." His skin prickled cold, a chill running down his spine as the chaos around him blurred. A knot formed in Michael's throat. What did it all mean? "Michael, focus." Jessica's voice sliced through his haze. "We have to protect Sarah." But what if Sarah wasn't really his? The thought crashed into him like a wave. The messages, the ominous presence of those desperate parents. It all twisted inside him, the ground shifting beneath his feet. He needed answers, needed them now. Suddenly, Sarah's small voice rang out, high and shaken. "What's happening, Daddy? I'm scared." Michael turned to her, heart breaking at the sight of her distress. "I don't know, baby. Just stay close." But inside, panic twisted like a vice. "And Ethan? What if he's my son too?" His voice trembled, barely a whisper. The revelation hung in the air, heavy with implications. The woman watching him shook her head. "It's worse than you think." In that moment, silence fell heavy, larger than the storm outside. The truth teetered on the edge of revelation. "What?" Michael struggled to breathe, desperation clawing at the edges of sanity. Then, as if triggered by his question, the lights flickered, plunging them into semi-darkness. A deafening crash of thunder boomed overhead. "Look!" yelled one of the nurses, thrusting her arm toward a door that burst open. Another medical team rushed in, pushing a cart with what looked like a small boy lying still, surrounded by frantic energy. "Is that Ethan?" Michael choked out. "No," the mother screamed. "Ethan's here. You don't understand." Suddenly, Michael felt a jolt, shocking him to his core. Panic rose like a maelstrom. How could it be true? Were they twins? Was one the child he had come to rescue, while the other was somehow a missing piece of his own past? The room felt like a carousel spinning out of control. And then it struck him. All the ties he thought he had cut, every choice he thought he made, the past was running back at him with vicious speed, slashing through the fabric of his life. A pulse of dread raced through him. It didn't matter who he thought he was. Nothing was as it seemed. Michael looked around, breaths coming fast, heart pounding against his ribs. The storm continued to howl outside, but the real tempest was inside the walls of this hospital. "What is really happening?" he shouted into the chaos. And in that moment, he realized the truth was out there, waiting, and it was going to change everything. Michael's heart raced, pulsing in his ears. The woman, familiar yet distant, moved closer, urgency flooding her features. "You don't understand. They're here for Ethan." The words hit him like a slap. Confusion twisted in his stomach, tightening his grip on Sarah. She looked up at him, her face a canvas of fear and innocence, eyes mirroring the chaos around them. She asked, her voice trembling. Time felt like it was slipping away. Each moment stretched painfully, stretching shadows further. The once bustling room now held its breath. Between frantic nurses and echoing alarms, uncertainty closed in like a dark storm cloud. "Who are you?" Michael managed, the question slicing through the chaos. "What do you mean they're here for Ethan?" Before the woman could respond, the frantic voices of the man and woman he had just witnessed earlier pierced through again. "Ethan, where is my son?" Their urgent cries cut through the tension like a knife, people parting as they edged closer to him. Chaos spread across the room, tension rising like steam. Then it happened. A single scream that shattered the fragile calm. "Get away from him!" A figure burst into the emergency room, pushing everyone aside, eyes wide with panic. "I'm his mother! I'm his mother!" It was a wild cry that rattled everyone, including Michael. The noise in the room felt like 1,000 voices screaming in unison. His heart dropped. A mother? A real mother? The air thickened, confusion spiraling, pulling him deeper into this nightmare. "Ethan!" The woman's voice cracked, eyes searching wildly. "Where's my boy?" The desperation clawed at Michael's mind as he felt Sarah's small hand tremble beside him. "Ethan?" he whispered, trying to absorb the impossibility. "What do you mean?" The woman locked eyes with him. "You have no idea, do you?" Michael's breath caught, and for the first time, doubt began to seep in. He stepped backward, can't breathe. The nurse standing nearest them stammered, "We need to calm down, please, just—" But then everything spiraled. A flash of lightning illuminated the room through the windows, casting an eerie glow. At the same time, Michael's phone buzzed violently in his pocket again. Another message. Heart pounding, he yanked it out, balled fists trembling. "Get away from the girl. You're not her father." His skin prickled cold, a chill running down his spine as the chaos around him blurred. A knot formed in Michael's throat. What did it all mean? "Michael, focus!" Jessica's voice sliced through his haze. "We have to protect Sarah." But what if Sarah wasn't really his? The thought crashed into him like a wave. The messages, the ominous presence of those desperate parents. It all twisted inside him, the ground shifting beneath his feet. He needed answers, needed them now. Suddenly, Sarah's small voice rang out, high and shaken. "What's happening, Daddy? I'm scared." Michael turned to her, heart breaking at the sight of her distress. "I don't know, baby. Just stay close." But inside, panic twisted like a vice. "And Ethan? What if he's my son too?" His voice trembled, barely a whisper. The revelation hung in the air, heavy with implications. The woman watching him shook her head. "It's worse than you think." In that moment, silence fell heavy, larger than the storm outside. The truth teetered on the edge of revelation. "What?" Michael struggled to breathe, desperation clawing at the edges of sanity. Then, as if triggered by his question, the lights flickered, plunging them into semi-darkness. A deafening crash of thunder boomed overhead. "Look!" yelled one of the nurses, thrusting her arm toward a door that burst open. Another medical team rushed in, pushing a cart with what looked like a small boy lying still, surrounded by frantic energy. "Is that Ethan?" Michael choked out. "No!" the mother screamed. "Ethan's here! You don't understand!" Suddenly, Michael felt a jolt, shocking him to his core. Panic rose like a maelstrom. How could it be true? Were they twins? Was one the child he had come to rescue, while the other was somehow a missing piece of his own past? The room felt like a carousel spinning out of control. And then it struck him. All the ties he thought he had cut, every choice he thought he made, the past was running back at him with vicious speed, slashing through the fabric of his life. A pulse of dread raced through him. It didn't matter who he thought he was. Nothing was as it seemed. "No!" a voice yelled from the back of the room, cutting through the chaos. It was a tall man, eyes wild and filled with fury. "You don't understand the real truth about Ethan." Everyone turned towards him, confusion morphing into alarm. "I know what's going on," he shouted, taking a step forward. "Michael, Ethan isn't just a boy you stumbled upon. He's linked to you, by blood, by choice. And Sarah, she's also tied to this, but not in the way you think." The room fell silent as the man's bombshell echoed through the air, like a strike of lightning grounding all thoughts. "Wait, what?" Michael's voice went cold. The words sank in like a stone, reverberating through him. Truth flickered like a dying flame. The man pointed a finger straight at him. "You need to look deeper into your past, Michael. Everything you built is a lie. It's time for the truth to surface." As thunder crashed again, Michael felt his heart stop. A secret, one that could unravel everything he thought he knew about himself, his family, and the children now at risk, hovered like storm clouds ready to burst. An answer was looming just out of reach, desperate for daylight. And as the chaos churned on, one question took root in his mind. Who was he really? And what had he lost? Michael's heart thudded painfully in his chest. The woman's words hung thick in the air, heavy with implications. "What do you mean, by blood?" His voice came out as a whisper, edged with a mixture of fear and urgency. The room felt impossibly small, closing in on him. Sarah stood trembling at his side, innocent eyes wide with confusion. "Listen," the woman insisted, her voice cracking under the pressure, as another wave of chaos surged through the emergency room. Nurses shouted orders, and the distinctive sound of medical equipment malfunctioning shrieked in the background. He's my son!" the frantic mother shrieked, stumbling forward, knocking past a nurse. Michael felt his heart drop as the woman's words echoed in his mind. How could this be happening? Suddenly, the energy in the room shifted like a current. The tall man, still looking wild, interjected loudly. "No, you're all missing the point. Maybe he's Michael's son, but the truth is..." Before he could finish, another scream erupted. A nurse rushed in, her eyes wide, panic splattered across her features. "Get back! Code red! We have an emergency!" With a flash, 2 medical staff sprinted past, pushing a gurney with frantic speed toward the chaos. Something or someone was deeply wrong. Michael strained to see, his pulse racing. What was happening? Thunder crashed again, and the lights flickered ominously. Sarah clutched his hand tighter, pulling him back to the moment, her trust placating his storm of confusion. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice small, almost drowned out by the chaos. She was all he cared about right now. But just as a moment of calm washed over him, a breath, something strange happened. The mother screamed again. "You don't understand. Ethan is..." Her eyes widened more than before, terror pooling in them. "He's not just a boy we lost. He's connected to a darker truth." Michael's instincts kicked in. "What are you saying?" His breath quickened. He felt veils lifting, just beyond his grasp. But before she could say more, the emergency room door burst open again. A uniformed officer charged in, his face set with urgency. "We need everyone cleared out, now!" he called out, drawing the attention of all present. "There's been a violent altercation outside. We have to secure this area." Michael's body froze. An altercation? All thoughts of the kids faded momentarily. Was there a threat looming just outside? Suddenly, an explosion boomed from outside, shaking the floor beneath their feet. Shockwaves rippled through the crowd. Michael instinctively pulled Sarah closer, shielding her with his body, dread coiling in his gut. The woman stumbled, her face pale, as fear gripped her throat. Before she could finish, a powerful blast of energy rushed through the room, catching Michael off guard. He lost his footing, his grasp on Sarah slipping. "Daddy!" Sarah cried, reaching for him, but he couldn't move. They were now at the mercy of chaos, the room spinning into darkness. And then it struck him like a bolt of lightning. The man's words rushed back to him. "Ethan isn't just a boy you stumbled upon. He's linked to you by blood." The realization crashed over him. Ethereal waves of recognition rippled through Michael. It wasn't just choices that haunted him. It was a legacy, a connection beyond comprehension. In the middle of the commotion, a familiar face emerged from the shadows, a face he had not seen in over a decade. It was Lisa, the woman he had left behind when everything fell apart. "Michael," she called out, her voice barely slicing through the chaos. "You need to remember." His mind buzzed as she pushed her way through the throng, eyes wide with a mix of terror and urgency. "Ethan is your son." Michael's blood ran cold. Everything he thought to be solid, his identity, his connections, was crumbling like ancient stone. "Ethan is your son? How is that possible?" Panic seized him. But Lisa wasn't done. "Sarah is connected too. You don't know the truth." Just then, the lights flickered off completely, plunging them into darkness. Silence followed, longer than ever before, amplifying the weight of those words hanging in the air like a black cloud. Would their world ever be the same? The thrum of the storm chuckled outside, and as Michael blinked into the void, one single thought crashed over him. Could he trust anyone in this storm of secrets? The thrum of silence felt louder than thunder as Michael stood in the darkness. Lisa's words echoing in his mind. "Ethan is your son." The weight of those words hung heavy, pressing against his chest. Sarah's little hand trembled against his side, her wide eyes glimmering with confusion amidst the chaos. "Daddy?" she asked, her voice a fragile whisper. He wanted to assure her, wanted to take away her fear, but the storm inside him blurred every thought. "Just hold on, Sarah, But then, just as he prepared to shout for calm, the lights flickered back on, exposing a scene that felt. The paramedics wheeled in the gurney, but this time it bore more than just a child's lifeless form. Attached to it, flat on the surface, was a small tattered blanket. A gasp echoed from the crowd. Michael's breath seized in his throat as dread twisted in his stomach. The blanket was familiar. It was the same one he had wrapped around Ethan when he took him from the rain. Ethan. The word left his lips like a prayer, but even as he spoke it, the room shuddered under another clap of thunder, drowning his voice in a tidal wave of disbelief. The frantic mother lunged forward, her eyes wild. "Where's Ethan? I don't care about anyone else." Her voice cracked, a raw edge of panic that sliced through the mania. The man, still looming disturbingly close, opened his mouth again. "You think it's just about Ethan, Michael? You need to understand, this is bigger than you." His face twisted in anguish. "He's not just your son, he's more than you can imagine." More? What could be more than a son? The storm outside burst forth, rain pounding like an angry sea against the windows, shaking the very foundation of the hospital. "Get back!" the officer shouted, pushing through the throng, gun drawn. But the urgency only amplified the confusion. The air throbbed with panic as onlookers backed away, eyes wide with horror. Then it happened. A sudden crack, sharper than any thunder, rang through the room, and the emergency door flew open, slamming against the wall. A tall figure stepped in, shrouded in darkness, face obscured, a presence that felt like a storm within a storm. The figure pulled back the hood, revealing a face Michael knew all too well. It was his own, twisted in anger, eyes alight with fury. "What?" he gasped, stumbling back. No. The crowd parted like waves, murmurs filling the air, a tide of disbelief washing over them. "You abandoned us," the figure roared, voice a thunderous echo of his own. "You thought you could escape? You don't even know who you really are." Michael's heart raced in sync with the impending chaos. "You're me?" 1,000 questions flooded his mind, but none could break through the wall of shock. "I'm the choice you made, the ghost you left behind." The doppelganger spat, stepping forward with a furious blaze in his eyes. "And I'm here for what's mine." Behind him, the frantic parents screamed, fear coursing through them like wildfire. Panic erupted in the room. People shouted, "Who is he? What does he mean?" Heart racing, Michael felt the walls close in. "Ethan is your son, but not just yours. He's ours. Yours by everything you left behind." His mirror image sneered, lit by the flash of chaos igniting further around them. It felt as though the foundation of his very life cracked beneath him. "No, it can't be true!" Michael shouted above the noise, clenching fists at his sides. "But it is." The doppelganger raised a finger, pointing directly at him, a bolt of reality surging through the turmoil. "You had a choice, and you chose." Then the room shuddered as the lights flickered again, plunging them momentarily into darkness. He felt the world tilt, spinning out of control. Suddenly, Michael's phone buzzed violently, pulsating in his pocket. Hands shaking, he pulled it out, glancing at the screen. A new message blinked ominously. "Time for the truth, Michael. No more hiding." As the storm raged, the lights returned, and Michael stood, mind racing. He was enmeshed in a web of secrets and connections he had yet to unravel. The past was clawing its way back, demanding recognition. In the heart of the fray, as every gaze turned toward him, one truth pierced through his confusion. Nothing would ever be the same again. Michael stood frozen, his heart racing as he took in the chaos surrounding him. Lisa's face was etched with urgency, and the chaos swirled around them. Voices collided, panic echoing through the room. "Ethan is your son," rang in his— "Wait," he gasped. But before he could process, the lights flickered again, casting eerie shadows over worried faces. In that heartbeat of darkness, time felt suspended. Then the shouting blared back. The officer stepped closer, eyes scanning the room. "Everyone needs to get out now!" His voice boomed, punctuated by the sharp clamoring of a radio crackling to life. But it was then he saw it, the flicker of movement from the only exit. Surprise turned to horror as he caught sight of a figure menacing and wild. A hooded silhouette pushed its way into the emergency room, the fabric of the cloak swirling as it moved. The energy shifted, the air thickened. People flinched. Michael's body stiffened as the figure peeled back the hood, revealing a face that took his breath away. "Anna?" Michael gasped, disbelief crashing over him like a wave. She was supposed to be gone, a ghost he buried in his past. Her eyes burned with an intensity he'd never seen before, a mix of rage and desperation. "You think you can just walk away?" Her voice cut through the noise, every word laced with pain. "You've caused so much hurt, Michael, to all of us." The room shifted again. The parents hesitated, eyes darting between Michael and Anna, confusion brewing in the air. "What are you talking about?" he stammered, his mind racing as anxiety pulsated deep within him. "Ethan isn't just a boy you saved from the rain." Anna's voice rose, each word punctuated by the pounding of thunder outside. "He's your son. You don't even know the whole truth." The earth tilted beneath him. His heart plummeted. "What do you mean?" His body trembled. Then Anna reached for the gurney, pulling back the blanket with a sharp motion. Silence fell, piercing through the scattered murmurs. The boy on the gurney sat bolt upright, eyes wide. "Dad?" the child gasped, terror etched into his small features. Michael staggered back, visions swirling. "What?" The words barely left his lips before another surge of adrenaline raced through him. The boy wasn't just a survivor. He was intertwined in the very fabric of Michael's existence. But then it happened. The stranger, the doppelganger, stepped forward, rage painting his face. "This is not just about Michael. It's about all of us. Everyone you brushed aside." "Enough," Anna shouted, anger and pain woven into her voice. "We don't have time for this. We need to save Ethan." But before she could explain further, the lights blinked again. The emergency alarms blared, filling the air with a cacophony more insistent than the storm outside. One final burst of thunder blasted overhead like a gunshot. Out of nowhere, the entrance door crashed open. Dark shadows filled the space. A woman burst in, hair wild, clothes drenched, fear on her face. It was Jessica. "This is about me too," she screamed, breathless, clutching a small boy's hand. "I'm here for Ethan." Now everything spun. History collided. Secrets threatened to fracture the very core of their existence. "What?" Michael stuttered, turning to Jessica, wide-eyed. "What do you mean? He's my son too." As each breath hung heavy with tension, the world around them spiraled into disbelief. The storm howled outside, but inside, the pulse of truth rose like a tide ready to crash. Michael felt the walls closing in. Confusion, betrayal, and raw emotions filled the room until they brimmed, ready to spill over. The ground beneath him felt unstable, shaking everything he clung to. No, it can't be. And just when Michael thought he could grasp it, the sirens wailed louder, drowning out reason. The truth trembled in the air, yet remained just out of reach. He was caught in a storm of revelations. But was everything they believed real, or was it all a tragic unraveling of something darker than he ever imagined? The storm outside raged, the hospital a battleground of emotions. Michael's mind spun with Anna's words, the weight of her revelation crashing over him. "Ethan isn't just a boy you saved from the rain. He's your son." "No," he shouted, disbelief coursing through him. "This can't be real." He felt Sarah pull closer, her small body trembling beside him, eyes wide with fear. But Anna didn't back down. "You've been hiding the truth from yourself for too long. You need to face it." The air grew thick, charged with tension. One wrong word could shatter them all. Jessica stepped forward, desperation etched across her face. "Michael, please, we have to focus on our kids. This is not the time for this." And just as Michael was about to respond, the lights flickered again, plunging them back into semi-darkness. Shadows danced wildly, and a piercing scream sliced through the chaos. "Get back!" an officer shouted, shoving people aside. Then, from the back of the crowd, a loud crash erupted. The emergency doors flung open again, a group of paramedics rushing in, eyes wide with horror. Suddenly, the room exploded. A deafening boom shattered the air, sending everyone sprawling to the ground. The lights went out once more, and a thick plume of smoke billowed in. Panic ignited the crowd. People shouted, "What's happening? Is everyone okay?" Michael coughed, the acrid smoke stinging his lungs. He shielded Sarah, feeling the warmth of her body pressed against him. "Stay close," he yelled above the noise, heart pounding. But then, amidst the chaos, a figure emerged from the cloud of smoke. It was moving faster than anyone else, like a shadow gliding through the chaos. "Stop!" the officer screamed, gun drawn. "Everyone down!" But the figure didn't slow. It moved with an eerie purpose, crashing through the throng, heading straight for Michael. Eyes wide, he watched as the figure revealed itself, from the smoke, and the world around him fell silent. The hood fell back to reveal Ethan, but not the Ethan they knew. It was a pale copy, eyes dark and filled with something sinister. "You thought you could hide from me?" The doppelganger, or whatever it was, croaked, voice hollow, echoing through Michael's mind like a haunting memory. "It's time to reveal the truth." The crowd gasped, everyone backing away, fear rippling like a dark tide. "What are you?" Michael shouted, his heart racing even faster now. His mind whirled. And then, to Michael's horror, the creature took another step closer, and suddenly, everything shifted. "Ethan has been lying to you," it spat, malicious glee dancing in its eyes. "The real truth is about to unfold." Sarah clutched his waist tighter, eyes brimming with tears. "Daddy, I'm scared." The doppelganger laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Michael's spine. "You shouldn't be. You were the one who never wanted to know." And just like that, it pointed a finger at the gurney with the child still lying on it. "Look closely. See what you've created by running away." Before he could react, the lights flickered again, then stabilized, revealing not just Ethan, but an array of photos scattered across the gurney. Images of children, family portraits, and then a single photograph, torn and crumpled. It showed Michael and a woman with kind eyes. A woman Michael thought he'd never see again, a face from another life. Louder than the thunder outside, a single thought echoed through Michael's mind. Did he really know who was connected to whom? "Time to wake up, Michael. It's time to remember." The figure hissed, eyes glinting with a wicked light. As if a dam broke, Michael felt the room spin, confusion overwhelming him. Who was the real enemy? What secrets lay hidden in the depths of his past? And what did it mean for Sarah, for Ethan, for everything? A collective silence fell, as all eyes were on him, mouths hanging agape. And in that moment, Michael realized the monsters were not just out there, they were. And he was at the center of it all. Michael's heart pounded a relentless rhythm in his chest, thrumming alongside the chaos in the room. His doppelganger stood before him, eyes blazing with fury, the air thick with uncertainty. The echo of the child's gasp still vibrated in his ears as he looked desperately between Ethan and the looming shadow of his past. "Enough!" he shouted, forcing his way forward. "Everyone, just stop!" The room fell silent, anxious chatter silencing to hesitant whispers as all eyes turned toward him. Ethan, still sitting up on the gurney, looked scared and lost. "Dad?" His voice trembled, tugging at Michael's heart like a lifeline. A spark ignited within him, a warmth pushing back the fear, the undeniable truth rising like a tide. I know now," Michael breathed, confidence filling his voice as he stepped closer. "You're my son, Ethan. You are part of me, part of my choices and my mistakes." The room held its breath, the storm outside raging still. But in that moment, clarity washed over him. "Michael, don't!" Anna's voice interjected, panic etched on her face. "You don't know what this means. You're bringing everyone into danger." "I'm not afraid," Michael shouted back, anger slipping into determination. "We've lost enough time hiding in the shadows. I fathered him." He took a moment to breathe, eyes darting to Sarah, her innocent gaze locked onto his, waiting for certainty. "I'll protect them all. I promise." Suddenly, a crack of thunder boomed outside, the lights flickering dangerously again. But instead of backing down, a sense of unity sparked through the group. Jessica stepped up beside him, a fierce look on her face. "We're going to face this together," she declared, voice firm and strong. The doppelganger sneered, but doubt flickered in his eyes. "You cannot escape who you are," he snarled. Yet there was hesitance, as if every declaration he made crumbled under the weight of the truth spilling forth. "I'm not running anymore," Michael replied, the conviction clear in his voice. Not from my past, not from you. He glanced at Lisa, who nodded in agreement, her expression softened with understanding. Almost instinctively, the parents who had been shouting began to quiet, re-examining their own mistakes. Shadows flickered in their eyes, past betrayals sparking within them. Murmurs shifted through the crowd, regrets shared, resolutions formed. "Let's end this," someone shouted from the back. The officer raised his hand, urging them to heed sense rather than anger. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside, hearts were shifting in a different direction. For all the children, Michael's voice carried strength, blending hope and fragility. The room erupted into supportive voices, rallying for each other, galvanizing the space with unity. "We'll find a way," Jessica added, stepping forward. "Together, we can uncover the truth. The kids deserve that." The determination in her voice resonated, echoing through everyone present. Then, with a loud thud, the lights stayed steady, illuminating the glimmer of resolve that matched its glow. No longer was the hospital just a place of chaos. It was a sanctuary of truth, a place to rebuild. And as the murmurs of determination grew louder, Michael turned once more to Sarah and then to Ethan. "We will protect you, all of you. This storm can only be weathered together." Then came the most astonishing moment. Ethan reached out, small hand grasping Michael's larger one. "I missed you so much," the boy said, voice shaking, but alive with hope. Michael's chest tightened, breath hitching. "You are my son, and I promise," he whispered, "we won't be apart again. We'll make it right." With those words, resolve cascaded through the room, and in the midst of the storm, every soul began to find peace, a dawn breaking at last through their own darkness. As the storm raged outside, it was still a glimpse of possibility. They could be more than they ever were. But just then, Michael's phone buzzed again. Violently, he pulled it out. The message said, "This isn't over. Not yet." Michael sighed, uncertainty clawing at him, yet determination resonating within. The tangled web of their lives had begun to unravel, but with the truth now bursting to the surface, the adventure was only starting. And while everything felt raw and unresolved, he took another look at Sarah and Ethan. They were there. He would fight for them. Before the journey ahead, though, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait 1 second more to make sure you don't miss the upcoming exclusive stories. Smash that like button with all your might to boost the algorithm and flood our community with support. As you feel the excitement bubble up, flood the comments section with your reactions, your theories about how you envision this ending. It makes all the difference in building our amazing community. And don't forget to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to know what happened here.